There's the music, Jess. It's time to talk law.
And Priala Legal's Principal Despina Priala joins us each week to cover the latest hot topics after practising property and commercial law on the coast for over 25 years. We welcome her high level of expertise every Thursday after building an impressive legal pedigree both here and overseas, including the settlement of the iconic Q1 Tower and many other projects here on the Gold Coast. So good morning to you, Despina.
Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Despina. Well, today we're going to talk corruption.
We are, aren't we?
Now, there's a new commission that we could see come into to fruition, and it has many ramifications.
It does. So the Commonwealth Integrity Commission will be established, I dare say, in the near future. We've had a consultation period for the bill for the last few months, and that's come to a close this week. So there's been a lot of talk and articles issued about what is the Commonwealth Integrity Commission, what is it all about, and what does it intend to do? So it's quite interesting and fascinating. So I thought we'd talk about it.
And who are they going to investigate? What department should we be worried?
Well, yes. So the primary role of this commission, as you can perhaps understand and appreciate, is the investigation of serious criminal conduct, corruption. Okay, so this particular commission, and it'll be unique because it intends to have powers to investigate a number of different departments. So we can talk about that this morning. So what it intends to do is create two different arms or two different divisions, branches, Law Enforcement Integrity Division and the Public Sector Integrity Division. And each one, there's a number of different departments under that they will be able to investigate in terms of corruption. Yes, so it's actually quite wide. So when I list them all, you'll be quite surprised.
Well, we like to hope that the government departments and generally public service is there to do our bidding for it, to look after us, to do the right thing by us. But that's not always the case, is it?
No, it's not. So this particular commission is designed to be a specialised centre, purely designated to have these powers to investigate corruption. And that's the idea behind it. So with these particular two arms and divisions that they're talking about, that they'll have jurisdiction over, so in terms of the Law Enforcement Integrity Division that'll sit under this commission, we're talking about investigative powers in relation to, and I'm reading here from the fact sheet, the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, the Australian Federal Police, so the AFP, the Department of Home Affairs, the Australian Taxation Office, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, and ASIC, the Australian Securities and Commissions, Investments Commission. So, very wide capturing departments, if I could call it that, that'll sit under this particular branch.
Yeah, some high-level stuff there.
And
Definitely.
Will it be based on a whistleblower? I mean, or do they just go in and do an overhaul like an audit? How does it work?
Yeah, good question. So it's not going to be open to the public. So we'll get that out first and foremost. So you and I couldn't, for example, unless we work for one of these departments, could just go off and make a complaint to this Commonwealth Integrity Commission. So it's not open to the public sector per se, but certainly it is open to people who work within these departments to be able to make a complaint. So if we move over to the second branch, which will cover the other divisions and sectors and departments, then we can get a good idea of how far and wide the Commission is trying to capture.
How broad are we
Exactly. So the Public Sector Integrity Division is designed then to be able to investigate public service departments, okay, to be able to investigate higher education providers, so tertiary education providers, okay, and also parliamentarians and their staff.
Okay, so we're going pretty much to the top.
Any higher than that?
Not at this stage. Yeah, not at this stage. So we're talking about having very wide-reaching powers to be able to investigate corruption, and that is at its core. So the primary role is to be able to investigate corruption, and how will it be able to do that? So this bill will have, as part of it, very wide-reaching powers as part of investigating corruption. So we're talking about something that surpasses any royal commission. So we've had royal commissions in the past, and those royal commissions have had quite wide investigative powers when we've had those royal commissions on. But this is actually going to go past that. It's going to go beyond that. So we can talk about what that means and the powers that it'll have.
Warrants. How are we actually surveying? How does that happen?
So they're going to have powers to be able to put in surveillance technology and be able to, and devices. Tapping the phones. So being able to have arrest warrants issued, to be able to seize property, to have
video footage.
Yes, absolutely. To be able to force people to come and provide witness statements and give evidence. So there's a number of things they'll be able to do. Confiscate passports, so people can't just go off and leave the country.
I'm getting out of here.
That's it. Yeah. It's
exactly.
Getting hot in the kitchen. Time
Exactly.
to leave. Yeah.
So obtaining records any way you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, provided it complies with the bill, and of course, you know, the bill is out there at the moment, and people have read the bill, etc. So when it gets passed, it'll all be qualified. But the idea behind this is to have this centralised, specialised centre that sits up the top, that is answerable to the Attorney General, and to be able to have these powers to investigate corruption.
And this, as you say, this is basically much further than we've ever gone before.
Mm-hmm.
Why now? Why has the decision been made to set up this integrity commission? Do you know?
Well,
Too many dodges.
Too many, is that the case? So we've been. I mean, obviously, you know, you hear stories from time to time. News stories come up, etc., and rumours. And
Sexual
I guess,
harassment
all
cases,
sorts
bullying.
of things. Yeah, on in the general media, but on social media as well. There's always fingers pointed, etc. So has it got to that stage where we've basically said that's it, that's enough? We want something professional. We want a department that will look after and look into these things.
Yeah, I think so. I've probably at the core of it, really, there may not have been true independence in the past. Yeah, so we're looking at a body that will basically be a true independent body that is answerable to the Attorney General, perhaps never seen before, and perhaps that's why the bill has got included these far-reaching and wide powers of investigation into corruption. So perhaps in the past they haven't been able to explore as far as what they wanted to, and this is going to be supposedly a true independent body. But as I've said in the past, on many occasions in this sort of scenario, who's watching the watchers and who's guarding the guardians? To be honest,
they in on it?
Yes, and who's going to form part of this commission? So there's always that to take into account.
Yes, how are they impartial to it?
That's exactly right. So time will tell, won't it? Because we'll have to see exactly how true this independent body is and how far it's going to go. For example, of the list of agencies that I've mentioned before, the judiciary was not included. So this bill, at this point, the way it's been issued, does not include members of the judiciary. We're talking judges.
Really? So the head honcho.
Yes. So there is talk about, once this legislation is passed, perhaps the next order of business on the agenda is for the members of the judiciary to also perhaps be able to be investigated to the same extent.
Not pointing fingers, but they often say it comes from the top, don't they, when it comes to systematic behaviours?
Yes,
and
that's
breeding
right.
culture.
And it has to be seen as well that nobody is above the law.
The standard that they're setting, you're right.
Well, that's right. So there's been some articles in the Australian recently, and I know you've read them and I've read them, and it talks about, you know, the sexual harassment allegations against the former High Court Judge Hayden. So there's been some talk now that once this legislation is passed, people will be on the, I suppose, the warpath perhaps of trying to get the next order of business, which is including members of the judiciary. Perhaps rightly so, perhaps not. It'll depend on what they want to do in the extent of the investigations. I don't think anyone is above the law, and I think that those sorts of allegations that were made against the former Justice of the High Court would need to be investigated, for example, and that person is not beyond the law of being investigated. And corruption issues, for example, if there's any potential corruption issues, of course, the judiciary would have to be investigated, and I agree with that. But what I think I have some concern is how far it will go in terms of overseeing what we've always known as an independent body, a true independent body being the judges of the Federal Court, the High Court, Supreme Court, being able to make the decisions that they do in the position that they have. And that's why they have those positions. So we don't want to perhaps interfere with the way that decisions are made. as a result of this, because that perhaps might be unconstitutional, and we don't want to do with that. Compared to, of course, allegations of corruption or sexual harassment, sure, of course, would have to be investigated.
Yeah, and we need to know that the decisions that are being made without any influence from outside.
And interference.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, because it's true core. I mean, it would be perhaps unconstitutional. You need to be able to allow judges to make those decisions that they've always done, but that's not the same thing as investigating a judge for a claim of sexual harassment or corruption through the system, and perhaps corruption that may have influenced an outcome or a decision made by the judges themselves. Yeah, so there's going to be some fine lines drawn, I see, in the future about this particular byproduct, if I could call it that, of members of the judiciary being investigated.
Because when you think about selection of a jury, they go through these stringent processes.
Exactly, that's
the
right.
person making that judgment too, maybe upon their findings and sentencings, they need to go through the same thing. But as you say, it could do a whole overhaul of everything, and we need to have some ruling, don't we?
At some level, yes, as I said, no one should be above the law. But as I said before, with this commission, who's guarding the guardians? So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how these powers will be used in the future, and see if it truly intends to do what they say it's going to do, and investigate corruption.
How far away would you see before it would come into existence, and before we might see the first of the cases come through?
I think in the very near future. The consultation period has ended. It ended on the 12th of February for anyone who wanted to pass comment on the bill. So that's already passed. So I dare say in the next few months it'll be passed through Parliament, and we'll see the effects of it.
Interesting times.
It definitely is.
This is Talking Law on Radio 97. If you have a question to do with anything about the law, Despina Priala is happy to answer that for you. We can ask it on your behalf. Just send your question to breakfast@radio97.com.au. Coming up after the break, we'll try and find the spot